Item number 1 on the agenda is call to order. We'll do a roll call and declaration of quorum.
Mr. Lau.
Here.
Mr. Choate.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Present.
Mr. Tillman.
Here.
Dr. Matusek.
Here.
Then we'll welcome our guest. I'd like to thank all the administrators for being here and some staff and the local media. We will go to, since there are nobody signed up for any kind of comments, we will move on to number 3.
James Matusek.
I'll let you know when I have one.
We will move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they'd like to pull out of the consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that we move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Choate.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes. To clarify, and just yes or no, is the school portrait a new company? Focused is not what we have been using.
It's what they use this year.
Oh,
No,
it is.
New.
It's new.
It's new, okay.
New for next year. It's not what we use this year.
Correct.
That's what I assume. Okay. Continue on, Mr. Brown. Sorry.
That's all right. Regular business, item 4.1, discussion and possible board action regarding bids for construction of concession stand, press box at the softball field. Board has the right to accept, reject, or table any or all bids.
So
we receiving?
Received one bid from Hennessey Buildings, Mr. Hugboom, and that amount was $72,425. That will be a 2-story, roughly 10 by 15 or 21 by 15. The one that we currently have is 12 by 21, so this will be 3 foot deeper to give the ladies in the concession stand a little bit more room. 2 windows down low.
When you say we currently have, you're talking about the
Baseball field, I'm sorry, yes, sir. It'll be a metal building. Now, we are gonna do wainscot about 3 to 4 feet up with existing block that matches the baseball field that's behind. So we'll do that just mainly to act as a kick barrier or something from the bottom bend in it, but it will not go all the way up. One thing a little bit different on the baseball one, this entry to the upstairs is on the back side. Here, we're gonna run the stairs up the side, and you'll come in from the west. Bottom and top doors will be both on the west of this. And on the back, we're gonna run a canopy, extend out a little bit for a cooking area, and that way that'd be shaded or from inclement weather. This concession stand, the one thing that's different, we've got the canopy over the first base side, our home bleachers. The canopy is ordered and everything. That was where we punctured a line last time that was gonna go with the visitors. They're moving the line. Mr. Fuchs is moving the water line starting tomorrow, so Huggaboom can get to the lever or to the canopy over the visitors. But this concession stand, the 4 posts in the center or the corners, is enough to support the same type of cantilever canopy system where you don't have poles out in front, and then it'll match and tie everything in together. So that's what includes that. And that bid also includes all the concrete that we now have, where it's dirt in between the home and visitors, all that in the back. That'll angle that off. It'll fix the patch spot that David's cutting out to move the water meter, or excuse me, the hydrant, and then that'll be all concrete. So everything is included in that for that price.
I guess plumbing and electrical.
Plumbing and electrical, yes, yes.
Anyone want to make a motion?
So that was the only bid we received.
That is only bid, yes. Open those today at 3 o'clock.
I'll make a motion to accept bid from Hennessey Metal Buildings, Mr. Huggaboom, for the total of $72,425 for the softball concession and press box, including awnings, concrete, plumbing.
I'll second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Choate.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
New business.
No new business tax bond.
Number 6, superintendent report.
So-
Facilities report.
Yes, on the facilities, a couple things as we move into summer. You know, as you leave the southwest corner of the dorm and you can shoot across into the southeast corner of the dome, you can go to the southwest corner of the high school, right off of the art room. The art room's on the south side, and on the north side of that, you just have a storeroom that's become junk room. So this summer, as soon as school's out, we're getting a roll off. We're going to clean that out, get the walls painted, do a drop ceiling, and repurpose that in some capacity. Don't know if it's going to be, we don't necessarily need additional classroom, but we do need additional space, especially if we want to start like an esports team. Could be an office area. I know Coach Ben is looking for an office area, possibly looking at moving the basement weight room up. So a couple discussions out there, just kind of see what comes up. But then get that stuff out of there and get it cleaned up, because everything in there's some nice old textbooks if anybody would like them, or old desk or any of that. It's junk. So, and last month, you know, we got some remodeling, just recarpeting in the office areas and the elementary music room. Haven't been hit up on recarpeting anything else to that extent. Auditorium, I don't know if you've been in there lately, but there are a lot of lights out. I know Mr. Faulkner has been working with Jack actually, looking at getting a quote on updating those into an LED system.
Is it general lighting or the specific stage
Both,
lighting?
both, yeah. So, but did he say when he would possibly get that quote?
We thought we might have it before tonight, so no.
Okay, so it should be coming in probably with Arlette probably tomorrow, since board meetings was tonight. But just getting a cost comparison to bring to you, and if not, then if it's too much, then we'll just repair it or replace it. One of the things talked about a little bit before, but was just cleaning up the current hitting facility at the baseball field. Repaired the garage door there. Looking at spraying just the foam insulation in there, possibly putting in a heater and doing some lights, so not having to do very much there. But you know, right now currently softball and baseball are using it, and most of the time it's in the winter, and so it just make that a lot more functional. Track, they have finished spreading everything, so now you're going to see them there for about the next couple of days. They're just doing some minor trim work, getting everything cleaned up, and then they will move out. And the stripers are supposed to be in here sometime next week. That's a 2 to 3 day process. So the track should be probably open to the public by June 25th.
So
May 25th.
So the surface is done.
Yeah. So like I said, they just got some minor trim work and, you know, clean everything up, get their equipment out of here. But it's basically done. It's just got to be striped.
And it looks
good. Yeah, looks really good. Just should.
Yeah.
Mr. Griffin, haven't forgot about you. The fence, I visited with Welder on that. The fence on the south of the field house, football field house, the little asphalt parking lot. You know, right now that's T-post and nylon rope, and so matching that up just where it cleans it up and matches our existing fence. So he assured me he's been busy, kind of helping a buddy out, but he assured me it'd be done by when we could return in August.
So it will all be nylon rope in the future?
No, we're not going to take out the metal fence and put nylon and T-post. We're going to take the T-post and nylon rope out.
Just want to be sure.
Yeah, the pipe, I didn't clarify, I appreciate that. And then, one thing that we had talked about that I wanted to run by you, and I want to show you there on 6-1, where I have sent, can everybody open that budget on the building fund budget? I just wanted to give you a comparison of where we are this year on FY22 and what we look at next year. You know, in the green on that, does everybody up at the top where it says 2021-22 building fund budget? So that is our total revenue to date, and the different sources there. We've collected $365,000 this year. That's a little bit. We should have actually collected a little bit, close to $400,000, but due to tax protests, not all of it comes in. So a lot of that, $35,000 roughly, is sitting in escrow. Expenditures, we've had 4 main expenditures out of building fund this year. The tire store purchase, $82,000, the backstop, the concrete for softball, and now concessions. So I went ahead and put that in hopes you'd approve that. Yes.
On the purchase that we made on the corner of the tire shop now, I know that we visited with them about maybe trying to find, you know, a new home for them. Did we give them a specific deadline?
We did not, and actually, Number 8 was suggestions that you might have on facility, but then number 9 was actually tire store property. You know, what do we want to do? Do we need to discuss that? Yes, sir. So expenditures, we've spent $193,000. So if you go down to where, so we came into this year with $366,000 on that FY21 reserves. The estimated revenue, we brought in $365, which we could have spent up to $730. We spent $193. So we're going to finish this year right at $538,000 in our building fund. Very good carryover compared to years past. 2022, 23. So based on current revenue sources, you know, if we stay the same, roughly 325,000 or 365,000 revenue. We have no expenditures lined up right now for next year out of the building fund. So going into it, you know, finish this year at 538,000. If we brought in 365, our estimate of needs is going to roughly say you're going to have about 900,000 for next year for projects. So when I brought you that list, one of those was the possibility of a softball indoor hitting facility or locker room. And if we do that in phases, you know, because if you do anything over the 100,000 mark, that law changed November. Anything over 100,000, architects get involved. It's going to be a little bit more expensive. You keep it under that threshold, it allows you a little more flexibility, just like with our own concession stand. Visit with a local builder on that. You could get, if we kept our budget basically under 100,000 on the softball, we could get roughly a 40 by 80, maybe a 40 by 100, which that would just include the shell, concrete, and lighting. Obviously garage door. But then we come in after, we could hang the nets ourselves, we could put turf in ourselves, and we could put, what am I missing? The spray foam, if we wanted to. So I just throw that out there saying if we kept that budget at 100, that would put us at 800,000 next year if we go into it. So I didn't want to jump in horse ahead of the cart. Once your feedback is, you know, we talked about this a long time, but now we're at a point by repurposing the middle school gym into the wrestling room. That's what displaced the softball hitting facility. So, you know, they do a good job, baseball and softball coaches do a good job sharing, but nonetheless, it's a lot of kids to share a small space.
Where would we put this building?
It would be in center field to right field, somewhere in that area behind the softball field right now. That area, you know, there was the original baseball fence, and then you shorten it, it would be right there.
And I don't know, I think we've talked about this before, but what about, how much would it cost, do you think, to put turf on the football field? Would it be something that would be
So-
worth it? I know we talked about it a little bit, but.
Yeah, for years, gym, roughly, a good rule of thumb was basically turf was going to be about $750,000 because of the grade work and everything. Now, little larger fields, or depending on the grades, or, you know, obviously could add a little bit to it. I know a school our size, they started in August this process, and we're told $750,000. That'll take care of everything. With the increase, they got the bids back the other day. They had 5 bids, and the winning bid was $1.2 million. So that's how much it's increased just since August. So that's definitely out of the wheelhouse of
Went up
what we currently have.
$500,000.
I'm sorry?
Went up $500,000.
Yeah. Based on, they were told roughly 750. It may have been a little bit more, a little bit less, but that came in right at.
Yeah, and about 12 years ago, it was at $300,000.
Is that right?
That's right,
When
I
we
remember.
bid it out, and that's just a little too steep at this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, right now, we would be 10 years into it, and we would be resurfacing.
Yeah, for about probably, yeah.
Much less than
Well, yeah, I
1.2
could say the
million.
same. Roughly when you resurface, it's about 66% of the original cost, assuming you don't have the inflation that we've
Right.
had recently.
Remind me, improvements to existing buildings, can that come out of your building fund?
That can, or general fund,
And general-
repair and replace, and then, you know, that's how we were able to do the track. We built a brand new track, it would have had to come out of the gym, or building, but because it was repair and replace.
Right.
Turf, this particular school, they were able to do it out of general fund because of repair and replace. So,
I'd like to see us reassess our safety on the buildings, entries.
We have, Todd, do you want to address that, what we've done a little bit lately on some of the index? I know we've got the middle school now, where it will be done. What's left?
I saw you had something on the middle school.
Yeah,
Yeah, really the middle school is complete. I mean, as far as the access control and things like that, I think we've got, every door in there, and we also did the video system and things like that in there. Did video system and the doors in the high school. There's a couple of doors in the high school that we weren't able to do that we would probably stand and look at. But that's pretty well, and I mean, the elementary school. We didn't ever do anything with the back doors at the elementary school. All the other doors in Stacy's building, in early childhood, those are all complete. We're adding a few more cameras to the outdoor classroom. Also here in the fine arts building in the hallway.
So at any point in the day, can anyone get into the school? Middle school or high school or elementary?
Back door at elementary.
without
No,
giving.
they're locked. The back doors at the elementary
Elementary
locked.
secure and all doors.
They're just, they just don't have the access control that we have at the other.
Without
That's
giving.
what I'm,
With
that's
the
what-
key fobs?
Right.
Okay.
Right, there's no way to control the access to the front of the school. Would that be correct? You can see them come in, but you can't stop them with the facility.
Yeah, we saw them.
Yeah, they don't get into the elementary.
They cannot get into the.
They can get into the front door, but they can't get into the next,
Got you.
they're into the vestibule
And
right
that-
there.
So they get through the first set of doors, but then the second set of doors is locked.
Right, right.
They have to be.
And high school is the same way.
And those are also, that's also bulletproof glass, right? And
Are the side doors not locked?
There are doors on the high school that we can't lock because we have kids coming in and out so often that if we locked them, someone would have to call the office and me or Caroline would have to go open it for them all the time. So that's something we can look at for.
Couldn't
for the
reroute
future.
those kids?
That could
Where
be
they-
something we could also consider with like a student ID and badge card that, that they could get. And then that way those kids from Career Tech or wherever it is, when they're coming back, they wouldn't have to buzz them in. So that's something we could consider.
The teachers could get in, personnel can.
Yeah.
I
Just like we did our key fobs.
We did a lot.
Well, yes, but
A few years ago, we did a lot.
Yeah.
with the,
Just to continue to assess that.
We'd like to continue to assess
You
that.
bet.
I think everyone would agree with that.
You bet.
Yeah, especially like what he's talking.
Any
about, high school.
perimeter
the
stuff,
front, the
fence.
front door, they do have to buzz in to get into the.
Right, I knew in the high school. I knew it's secure.
So where are we at on the middle school? Because we didn't have the foyer there, we don't have a trap.
No, we don't. They buzz outside and
Okay.
then they're
Okay.
let in.
But we don't have a trap slot.
Okay. But they still have to buzz to get in.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're getting the two double doors new that are bulletproof to match the elementary and the high school.
At the middle school.
At
the middle school.
Yes.
Okay. I thought that's what I saw.
Yeah, yeah.
It only takes one unprotected spot.
Besides the
You know,
internal
problem.
assessment and with work of index, is there anything else you guys would like to see as far as school safety, perimeter fencing anywhere, or any additional that has been discussed? I'm just being new, I haven't had this discussion with you, so I didn't know if it had been talked about. But to me, it looks like we're pretty good shape everywhere, but I just want to make sure.
Do you have any problems with open campus at this time? Not any problems?
So we also talked about bigger projects too. The old, what I'm just going to loosely term the old bus barn, that area, making improvements there to accommodate track, visiting football teams, maybe some of these other, wrestling, softball hitting cages or whatever. But that was quite a bit more money. My only concern about the softball building is, while you don't want it to get too expensive and drag all these other considerations in, architect and engineering and so forth, I personally would rather not hodgepodge around the campus,
Yeah.
you know, to accommodate our needs. I'd kind of rather, if at all possible, I don't know when our bond issue is going to be up exactly, but I'd rather come back for, you know, maybe a bond issue in the future to establish something nice. Do it once, do it right, and do it something that we're proud of. Not that we wouldn't be proud of
Right.
the other, but
Well, like with the softball where you described it, is that easily accessible for the athletes and the coaches?
Yes,
You know,
it is.
is there parking back there? You said it's behind
They're
the outfield fence?
Yes, and the idea with that would be to make it to where you could add on eventually the locker room portion to it. So it would be a nice building. And it would be there at the softball field.
Something to
But
think about.
One of the things, or we did talk about taking the track equipment and some of the tractors, cleaning that area out. We'd have to buy another building here, and then you're asking softball to come over here. So,
Right.
so if you're gonna build a building,
Understand.
just keep it over there. That was kind of what we came up with internally.
well, I'm sure we appreciate more details, you know, on what it would include and cost, you know, final cost and all that kind of stuff.
You bet. Anything else you guys have, whether it's school safety or just anything else to pursue, just getting prices on, and just get the discussion going?
I just have a question about the technology. As far as, you know, we're one-to-one, and so do we have a certain percentage that we roll off every year to replace so that none of our technology is more than 3-4 years old, something like that?
Yeah, we're at the point right now that we're 4 years into the 1-1, and this year we're replacing approximately 350 units. It's what we've already purchased 300. I think we're going to try to get one more class. That way, every year we're replacing, I think, first grade, 5th grade, and 9th grade. It's kind of how we do it. And then the high school, of course, you can have theirs for 4 years, then they walk out. But that's what we've done.
Well, I just know the technology, it's good that we made the initial investment, but we've got to recognize it's a continuing investment. You know, I don't know about these things, how long, what their
I mean, that's
lifespan is.
another thing that we are probably going to have to start kind of looking at,
Yeah.
or some of these units, because they're still actually, I mean, we can't get rid of them because they were used for the Russ grant, and I think they have to be used for 5 years in the Russ grant. Pretty sure is that.
But all that's being considered in some manner.
And I mean, it's a minor expense, but I know one of the issues with baseball and baseball softball is access, controlled access, and charging up gate. You know, we have those temporary barricades that are brought in. I didn't know if something more permanent, a more permanent gate system and funneling the patrons. I know, like I said, when we had baseball and softball going on, you know, it's nice that our patrons get to go to baseball games for free, but you know, then the very next day we go to the place that just got to be free at our place, and they're charging $10 at their place. You know, we'd really like to charge them $10. They come to visit, but it's impossible to do so at baseball, just the way that the traffic flow comes into that. I don't have a suggestion. I thought, you know, kind of where we put up those temporary barricades, if we had a gate system that they can only access past the baseball you know, concession stand, press box. So just something looking at.
Definitely look into that and touch base with the city. Yeah. And then last thing, and as Mr. Lau brought up, was tire store. No immediate plans for either building, no need, but is there?
Well, when we bought it, you know, if nothing else, cleaning the area up so that the access coming in from town. And today, I took note, half the roof has folded over from the south to the north, and it hadn't been mowed since last August. Who's responsible for it? We own the building, right? So we're responsible for, you know, repairs, are we responsible to mow it? Is that something that Gary or Donnie has to take care of now?
Here's what I'd like to see. Speaking for myself, I'd like to see us have works in place for us to be cleaning that up by the end of the summer or at least in the fall. That'll give them the summer to continue to work and find another location.
Okay.
They can assist farmers during the harvest time, after harvest, but by then they ought to be phasing out.
Okay.
So,
That gives, I mean,
I'll check with legal, just to make
so
sure.
end of the year maybe, something like that?
end of the year, yeah.
But then, I mean, for me, I mean, if you're looking at that, then what are you gonna do with it after they're gone? You gotta tear the building down, you got all that expense to get everything cleaned up. You're talking about doing other projects and stuff too, you know, where are you gonna prioritize?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, if we did, say we just did the softball, say you had another 100,000 come up, that puts you at 700,000 that would be balanced to do with what we have there.
Well, I know
Well, what
when
would we
we
like-
purchased that, it was never our obligation to be a renter. It was our idea in buying that to clean it up. So I am prioritizing it by saying, let's get out of it, let's get it cleaned up, we'll be done, and then we can move on with other projects.
Maybe
because
get
we'll
some
know where we
quotes
stand.
on some
But if you're
demolition.
gonna clean it up, then
Okay,
what
so-
are you gonna do with it once it's cleaned
But
up?
I think that's what we need to talk
Yeah, I
about,
think
is what do we
that's-
want it to be?
Have a hell of a
Right,
lot
and
better
that's-
view, that's what I view.
Yeah, what do we want it to look like? Like, do we just want it to be a flat place with grass, or do we want it to be rock, or what do we think we want it to look like?
I think I want it to look like no building, and then we'll talk about what the options are for that space. I mean, first, one step at a time, you know, get it cleared, get
Yeah,
it
I
clean.
mean, once again, you may work with the city on a deal like that, they may want an intro into town or something.
Well, the
They may
trucking
want
company that
signs.
is also right there next to the Little League baseball field, you know, there's multiple 18-wheelers that were parked there, and, you know, them coming in and out. I know Saturday and Sunday, there was softball tournaments going on there. They need that parking area as well, and just safety. You don't want, you know.
So proceeding forward, I'll get hold of legal, make sure, see what timelines are on things like that, but also start working on some demo quotes.
Jackson's and Enid, we used it a lot, I don't know if
I have not used them, I knew they did, but I just haven't been involved in a project like that, but yeah.
they
So-
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to check the community, you know, if, first, just a vacant lot, and then
Well, I
what
just
can
think
be used after it's
The
cleaned
reason I
up.
asked that question is because if we're gonna tear it all apart, while they're there, let's have them, if we want it to be flat, let's have them flatten it and grade it where it drains.
Right.
And if that's what we want it to look like, then let's grade it
That
out
way you're
while
no-
we're there.
Yeah, that way you're in no rush. to
Yeah,
put
do we just want
something
to tear
on.
the buildings out and leave a
No.
big
Right,
mess
no,
or
no, no,
something?
no,
Yeah, let's get them.
Get them graded, dirt work graded.
Well, and
Yeah. Okay,
And there's two buildings there.
that is correct.
well,
And we talked about maybe
The barn.
repurposing the barn.
There's two different companies. in
Yeah,
there.
we have talked about
Trucking
that.
company and the
So
tire.
I'll also,
Also
I'll visit
need
with some
my office.
local builders on that to see if what the
To the
opportunities,
tire
once they
company.
get out, see what the opportunities is of removing that skin and moving them, you know, a good shape it's in, or do we need to buy new skin and use that building elsewhere? Trying to stay away from your hodgepodge stuff. Yeah. So,
Okay, any action on that?
I
you
gotta
wanna
find
take?
yards
I
of
mean,
this.
I just needed just a little bit of guidance before we do anything that
I mean, I
requires
have
any
any stuff
formal
in
board
that
action.
shop.
I'll obviously bring it back to you.
Any more discussion from you guys on that?
As we head into summer projects or anything, that's all I have, Mr. Lau.
All right, 6.2, resignation.
2 resignations, Jordan Waltman, and then Melissa Hardison, fax teacher at the high school.
7.1, we don't need to vote on that. No. 7.1, personnel, discussion and possible board action regarding employment of the following certified positions on temporary contracts for the 22-23 school year: high school career internship coordinator director, high school family and consumer science teacher, high school science head boys cross country and track, head junior high boys basketball, and assistant high school basketball.
One thing, we've talked a little bit about the career internship coordinator, and that's in response of trying to, service our own kids in some form of a career class, exposing them to more options than just possibly picking something, one class. And so I'm going to let Mr. Faulkner tell you a little bit about who we're going to recommend tonight, and the history she has with this, because it's an exciting opportunity.
Yeah, Kim Hallmark is who we're recommending to be hired, and a lot of you guys probably are more familiar with her and her history here than even I am. But as far as building a program or starting an internship program like that, she has been involved with that already once before in Enid, and has lots of connections there, and has been speaking with Jill Murray and I back and forth ever since we offered her a job. She's gotten like the skeleton, I suppose, of what they're doing there, and trying to figure out how we're going to make it function here and stuff like that. But she's got a lot of really, really great ideas. She's really excited to come in and get it started. And then just as far as what we're intending on doing, so first and foremost, we're going to have to supplement it with some kind of online curriculum, which we've come across. It's called eDynamic Learning, and I believe it's $150 for a student to have access to the total curriculum. So every class that's offered through eDynamic Learning is, I think, $150 a student. So it's not that much. It's very affordable.
What grades would be involved there taking that?
Probably juniors and seniors, very similar to Career Tech, which leads me to the next thing. So the other part, aside from the online program that's going to be able to offer some of those certification routes and things that we could get at Career Tech, the other side of that coin is the actual internship part, which we already offer an internship program to juniors and seniors. So juniors, as of right now, and this is something we're checking on and trying to figure out how we could maybe change it if there is a way to change it. Jill Murray and I are working on it right now, but the juniors are allowed 1 hour of internship. Seniors are allowed 2 hours of internship, and they can also do 1 hour of work permit. So they could have essentially the same type, seniors could have the same type of thing that you get at a Career Tech, where they are freed up for 3 total school hours to be able to go out into the workforce and work with local business owners and things like that, and in the fields that they're interested in. So trying to figure out how to make that work better for juniors is kind of where we're at now. And regardless, they at least get an hour that we could offer it to them. But I've spoken with them, I think around, I know of at least 5, and I'm not going to go into any names, or if you have questions, you can always ask me if you want to know, but 5 people that we've already contacted that have agreed to work with us on this next year. And Kim is, hopefully we're going to get her in here sooner rather than later. We've got a committee working, it's probably going to meet sometime the end of next week. And I'm also going to kind of task them with helping out with that part of it. Christopher's actually on that committee with me, but I think that pretty much covers where we're at. I think it's an exciting opportunity. I think it has the potential to be better for our kids than even going to Career Tech, depending on if it's implemented right or not.
In the internship program, and I know we're just dipping our toes into it, but say we send a couple of kids to a auto body repair, how are they insured?
Through the school.
Through the school, just like if they're in an athletic program or anything?
From my understanding, yeah. Which was one of, actually, to be honest, one of the people I spoke to in the community, they were concerned about that. Are we going to have to? And we've got some ideas of how to spend their first 6 weeks and then maybe the first 3 or 4 weeks out in the field, especially for things like that that are going to be more dangerous as far as learning safety of the trade and things like that, and how to incorporate that so they have that training before they go out and try to do it. So we hopefully minimize those types of things from happening. But so we've got some ideas that are in the works with that she, like I said, she's familiar with because they did them in Enid, so she's got a lot of that information. Kim does, but yes, to my understanding, we would still be insuring those students, yes, if there were an accident.
So she's currently in Dover, is that correct?
Yes.
And the high school
The high school.
Coach?
Yeah, coach, biology is Keith Fletcher, and then the family and consumer science is Haley Fisher.
Pretty good resume. So any questions about the other two candidates for those positions? Yeah. Fellow board member. Seeing none, I'll ask Timberly, would you like well, I guess I'll ask Mr. Sternberger, I guess your recommendation.
That is the recommendation for those three employees.
I'll make a motion to employ the listed certified personnel on temporary contracts for the 22-23 school year.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Choate.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
7.2, discussion and possible board action regarding extra duty assignments for summer remediation for the 2021-22 school year.
So those listed are who's going to work this summer. Now, if you remember the EL grant that we talked about a few months ago, their application, they were paying $30. Prior to this, Hennessey was not paying, we were paying $20, we're certified. But if we don't match ours from Hennessey Public Schools to what the EL grant's paying, we're going to have all our teachers wanting to work at the EL program and not for us. So we need to increase that. And in line would also increase support personnel to the $20 per hour. So I'd ask that of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Choate.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Aye.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
7.3, discussion and possible board action regarding extra duty assignments for the Together Con Éxito.
Could you say that again, please?
Once again, this is the EL grant and listed below are the 5 people that would work at that for $30 an hour.
Discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Choate.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
7.4, discussion and possible board action regarding the employment of Erica Beckner as a speech pathologist for an extended school year, June 1 to June 30th, 2022.
And the extended school year is for those individuals that is written into their IEP that they require speech path services.
So that's just for the 1 month?
Yes.
Later, will we see a new thing for the next?
Shouldn't be for July. No, I don't think they're doing
I don't
July.
think they will.
But I mean, for
Is
the
that right,
next.
Amy? You would know, yeah.
No, just for the summer.
Okay.
Just for- yeah.
Is it like an as-needed basis, or was it?
Per their IEP, yeah. If the speech services require them to need extended services.
So it could be,
And that's with speech. You'll have some with OT, PT.
yeah, sure.
Discussion. So moved.
Second.
7, I guess we got a vote.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Choate.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
7.5, discussion and possible board action regarding employment of support staff as summer help as follows. Cooks, Maria Fierro, Olga Roldan, Veronica Roman at the regular hourly rate. Maintenance, Corey Walker, $15 an hour. Technology assistants, Humberto Velasco and Andres Velasco at $10 an hour.
May have some more summer help come to you later in June, but for now, those are the ones we have secured so far.
Move to employ.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Choate.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Choate.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.